So, here now we will continue with the next session on the employee recognition, and in the last employee recognition session we have discussed about, that is how this non monetary reward is important, how an organization can make the best the practice of the employee recognition for the motivating the employees, getting the great work from them at their workplaces. Now, in further this particular employee recognition, it is the 4 levels of employee recognition maturity model is there. There is the inconsistent, standardized, aligned, reinforced and strategic and pervasive, which I have discussed in the first session 1. From there, now we will continue the engagement and recognition model. Here the strategic structure to engage, build a culture, achieve and celebrate, that we will see. On the y axis you will find investment, impact, exclusivity and symbolism, while on the x axis you will find frequency of recognition or the inclusivity. Now the results. The strategic structure to engage, build, culture, achieve and celebrate, this is becoming very important, that is the service awards. Whatever the service awards are there, they are supposed to be recognized and aligned with the company goals and missions are there. If the service awards are not aligned with the company goals and mission, then in that case then it will not be possible to grow for an organization. Second is performance based criteria. Always it has been always in question. A long time back there was a discussion of the criteria should be merit based or that should be on the seniority based, and now it has been recognized that it should be the mix. However, in this model it has become the performance based criteria, but in India in most of the organizations you will find that is, if you want to make the recognition of the employees, that has to be the mix, that is the combination of the seniority of the employees, right, and then performance of the employees. So, therefore, there will be a group of seniors, and in that particular group of seniors whoever is into the merit, that will be that particular employee will be recognized. We can make also criteria individual based or team based. So, individual based criteria is there. So, if any task which is to be done by the individual, then definitely for those tasks there can be the employee recognitions, but certain many tasks are to be done into the team, and therefore, in that case the team recognition is also to be there. Build annual tradition. Many organizations in India also now, in spite of the annual, they are going by the quarterly and 6 monthly recognition awards, so that the motivation will be the continuous process. It should not be the one time in a year, rather than it is a continuous process, and therefore, they will have the build the annual tradition is there. Corporate to employee, and therefore, in that case these awards will be from the corporate to the employees will be there, and there will be a symbolic recognition in the case of the achievement of the company goals and missions are there. The contributions that can be has to be aligned with the strategic initiatives and goals of the organizations. What are those strategic initiative goals of the organization? The strategic initial and goals of the organizations are individual and a team, and therefore, in that case if there is an individual and a team is there, then that particular contribution will be made. It can be monthly or quarterly, it can be short term achievements and manager to employee, there will be the approach. So, it will be the top down approach, that will be from the manager to employee approach will be there for the recognition of the employees. Then the peer nominate base will be also, nowadays this has become also very popular, that is the you have to nominate your peer for this particular recognition award. And in that case, if there is a proper recognition by the peers, then the person will be nominated for the employee recognition. Then tangible awards are there. So, tangible awards are that can be converted into the either monetary or non-monetary awards are there. So, these all hours of the contribution. So, these are the results oriented, these are the contributions oriented, and now we will talk about that is the behavior oriented. The result oriented employee recognition is associated with the company goals and missions. When we talk about their contribution will be aligned with the strategic initiatives and goals, and now we will talk about their behavior. So, here the behavior is the frequent inclusive social behavior, observable behavior, on the spot behavior, that is how what was their behavior on the spot in a given crisis situation, peer to peer thank you services that can be seen, manager to employees top to bottom, and awards may accumulate, and therefore, in that case you will find that has to be aligned with the core values. Now, we will also find out the cost benefit analysis of employee recognition. Increase individual productivity. The act of recognizing desired behavior increases the repetition of the desired behavior, and therefore, productivity is also increasing. This is classic behavioral psychology. The reinforced behavior supports the organization's mission and key performance indicators, and as a result of when we talk about the reinforcement of behavior and it is a repetition of the behavior, we will find that there is an increase in the productivity. Greater employee satisfaction and enjoyment of work. So, therefore, if there is a proper employee recognition, the employees will be having the greater satisfaction at their workplace, and they will enjoy their work. More time spent focusing on the job and less time on the complaining, and therefore, in that case they will enjoy their job. So, therefore, in spite of focusing on the others, they will focus on their jobs, and therefore, more time they will spend focusing on the job. Direct performance feedback for individuals and teams is provided, and for this knowing that is the how is the impact of this particular decision, a direct performance feedback for individuals and team that can be taken care of. Higher loyalty and satisfaction scores from customers. So, in that case you will find that is the employees, those who are having this type of the recognition, they are having the higher loyalty, and their satisfaction score with the organization, job satisfaction is also higher from the customers. So, therefore, it is not having the intrinsic customer, that is the internal customers of employees, but this is also focusing on the outside of the stakeholders, that is the customers. So, internal and external stakeholders both are considered in case of this employee recognition. Because employee recognition is having peer to peer also, employee recognition is also have nothing to do with the conflicting situations, and therefore, in that case there will be teamwork between the employee is enhanced. Peer to peer learning is there, peer to peer support is there. So, employee to employee there will be better team building. Retention of quality employees increases as we have focused on those employees, those who have performed. If we are talking about the performance of the employees and then we are making the recognition, naturally we are targeting on the stars employees. If we are focusing on the star employees, so definitely in that case the retention of the quality employees will be more, and the lower quality of employees, lower employees turnover will be there. So, therefore, those who are not performing, lower quality means that there are those who are not performing, then in that case you will find there is a lower employee turnover is there, because there is a higher retention. We have recognized the employees, those who are performing, they will like to continue for a long period of time, because they are having a satisfaction, and as a result of which it will reduce the employee turnover. Better safety records and fewer accidents on the job. So, therefore, in that case you will find that is there will be the better safety records, and whenever we find this type of the organizations, the number of accidents are less, and the fewer accidents on the job, as a result of which the more association with the in the man machine relationship is positive. Lower negative effects such as absenteeism and stress. When we talk about the employee recognition, then the behavioral aspects. For example, absenteeism from the work, because employees are recognized, So, then they know that if they will remain absent, everybody will ask about them, and therefore, in that case it is becoming the lower, minimizing the absenteeism and also minimizing the stress, where the employees that will have to work on more and more while coming on the job. As far as the cost is concerned, time spent in designing and implementing the program. So, therefore, they naturally when you are making a particular program, a reward system, that then you have to give the time, you have to do the brainstorming sessions, and then you have to come out with the suggestions. So, therefore, in that case, that is the time is there. Time taken to give the recognition. Now, there will be the committees. Committees will see the parameters, they will compare the employees, and finally, they will give the recognition to the employees. Time and cost of teaching people how to give recognition, and therefore, in that case it becomes very important, that is the how the time and cost of teaching those who are people that is involved, that is also to be taken into consideration in the cost. And cost of introducing a new process. Naturally, when you do whole exercise, then you come out with the new model, and when you come out with the new model, so you want to introduce a new process, and then there will be cost of the new process is there. So, definite cost will be there for introducing a new process. Now, I will talk about the 7 keys to successful employee recognition program. So, as I mentioned, that is the recognize frequently. Now, here what we can see, that is how that can be the weekly or monthly or yearly, then that can be the recognition can be there. For reinforcement of behavior, right, we are making certain benchmarking practices, and example is nowadays there is the cleanliness. If cleanliness is there, and then this we can check weekly, and this check will be for the individuals. However, we can go for checking of this all these parameters like the cleanliness, productivity, absenteeism, right, that is the monthly also and quarterly also. So, therefore, in that case, if we go by the recognizing these frequently, then we have to understand some parameters, that those parameters that can be weekly, monthly, quarterly and yearly, and then we can make them ensure that is the they are able to come for this particular reward, and then employee recognition can be done on the basis of the frequency of these particular parameters. Now, we can be the and now another recognition program that has to be specific. Specific in the sense, for example, in BHEL we find that is the suggestion schemes. So, if there is a suggestion scheme is there, then how in the specific what will be the suggestion and how it will be suggestion scheme, and then suggestion scheme which will be involving more creativity or problem solving. So, if we talk about these particular suggestions, then we have to see that is the how there can be the schemes which will be very specific with the creativity or the problems for solving. Maybe a particular problem can be of the waste management. And if this problem is there, then how to solve this particular waste management problem? Are reducing the waste, right? So, therefore, in that case we can find out that is the how these all aspects that one can discuss and find out that is the is it possible to make a specific scheme. So, specific scheme can be for a particular section or department, specific scheme can be for the cost reductions, specific scheme can be for the production, specific scheme can be for the absenteeism, specific scheme can be for the better practices, quality control better practices. So, therefore, in that case that can be a very specific schemes can be there. Now, we can also align with our core values. Here we have seen in the core values, that is the how the core values are there in the cost benefit analysis of employee recognition and align with the core values. These core values in this diagram which we have discussed, that is these core values, that is the frequent and inclusive social values, observable behavior, on the spot, peer to peer, thank you, manager to employees, awards may accumulate. So, therefore, in that case these core values that has to be aligned. So, the employee recognition that has to be related to the core values, and core values should deliver towards the performance of the organization. And if the performance of the organization is related with the core values, then of course, there will be increase in productivity. The normally in the large enterprises LEs, the employees participation may not be very high. In small and medium enterprises we will find there will be a lot of participation, but in case of the large enterprises it becomes difficult to have the large more participation, because people are busy in their work and therefore they find that is the other people are there. So, why should I, and like this there will be less participation in the employee recognition program. Now, here we have to also communicate, we means organization has to communicate, that is the if there is employee recognition is there, that employee recognition will be the part of their growth strategies. So, more is recognition, better will be the career prospects in that organization, and therefore, in that case the recognition of the recognition of the employee recognition, that value addition is to be done. So, if we encourage that type of participation, then definitely in that case we will find that is the yes, employees are becoming more and more, whether it is peer to peer or top down or the bottom up employee recognition is there, that practice, that culture that has been developed into organization. Seek continuous feedback. Now, you see we have talked about much about the importance and practices of the employee recognition, but the point is whether we are having the appropriate, because it will vary from organization to organization. Because when I said be specific, now in the be specific, the manufacturing organizations may be more about towards the cleanliness, maybe towards the new product development. While if the service industry is there, they will be more specific about the customer relationship, they may be more specific about the product delivery, they may like the drone concept of the drone to deliver the products. So, then definitely in that case it will be very specific. So, service industries will be having a very specific type of practices which will be come under the employee recognition, while in manufacturing there will be the different type of practices that will come under the employee recognition, and therefore, in that case it will be very important, that is we are having the alignment with the core values, and therefore, we always keep on asking the continuous feedback. If you find that the particular scheme of employee recognition is not getting the fruitful results, then we have to replace that, and we can, and to replace that, but we have the another scheme, and therefore, involve your more employees to give the suggestions that what will make them the more happy by employee recognition. Use technology to help you. Nowadays, we are living in the era of AI artificial intelligence, and therefore, in that case it becomes very important, that is the we make the digital evaluation system, and therefore, in that case it will be better, that is the we are using the technology to find out the employees, to recognize and implementation of the employee recognition system. It is also very important, right, that is the communicate a lot of communication is required from the bottom up to the top down and peer to peer, that is the they all are having a lot of communication. There are number of platforms where they are talking, there are the number of events, activities where they are meeting and communicating, as a result of which you will find that is the it becomes important, that is the how this 7 keys successful employee recognition program that will give the results for the employee retentions and better practices. Now, here I would like to share some research papers. So, research papers are the employee recognition, meaningfulness and behavioral involvement test of a moderated mediation model. Authors are the Francesco Montani, Jean Sebastian Boundaries and the Marilyn Pigeon. The journal is the International Journal of Human Resource Management, published, this paper is published in the 2017. This study examines, the purpose of this study is to examine how and under what conditions recognition practices are related to the employee behavior involvement at work. It emphasizes on how different sources of recognition can shape the effective behavioral involvement in the workplace. It also sheds light on the role of meaningfulness as an important psychological mechanism that explains the recognition behavior relations. The conceptual model which has been used in this particular research, that is the manager's recognition and the behavioral involvement through the meaningfulness. However, that mediating and moderating of the co-worker recognition, that has been checked. So, low manager recognition and high manager recognition. Meaningfulness is a function of the role ambiguity at the standard deviation of the co-worker recognition. At low co-worker recognition, below the mean is there, at a high co-worker recognition, one standard deviation above the mean is there. So, therefore, in that case it becomes very important, that is the meaningfulness that is playing the role. So, when individuals are provided the possibility to anticipate desired personal outcomes at work, they are likely to invest more efforts in the goal oriented behaviors. So, when individuals are having this having the possibility basically to desire that personal outcomes at work, they are likely to invest more efforts in goal oriented behaviors are there, because they are looking forward for their anticipated desired personal results. The more employees receive recognition from their managers, the more likely they are to foresee it as suggestive of forthcoming desired outcomes. So, it is a very good push technique, positive push technique. So, the more employees that they are getting the recognition, so more are directed towards they are suggesting them, that is the come with this desired behavior, and if there is a desired behavior, they will be able to get the employee recognition. High performance practices are generally referred to as those HR practices that increase employees' knowledge, skill and abilities, KSAs, empower employees to leverage their KSA knowledge, skill and ability, organizational benefits and increase their motivation to do so. And if that increase the motivation, I would like to add one more, and that is the H, and that is the knowledge, skill, attitude and habit. So, in case of when you are making the employees to leverage their case for organizational benefit, they will be having the more practices, and if they are having the more practices, definitely they are having they will develop it as a habit, and therefore, they will increase their motivation also. Managerial recognition has the potential to be as valuable as other high performance work practices in mobilizing employee behavioral involvement is there. High the motivation is there, there is a high involvement is there. Managers who acknowledge and appreciate employees' work accomplishment display a self-coordinate function, thus raising higher level of meaningfulness and ultimately behavioral involvement is there. Better is the behavioral involvement, better is the results is there. The provision of simple, genuine appreciation and the acknowledgement of employee accomplishments and efforts are relevant practices that leaders can enact to boost the perceptions of employees' work as more personally important and valuable is there, and therefore, in that case it becomes very important, that is how they are going to involve. Finally, I would like to say that is if we are going by the employee recognition practices, then it will be developed not only the knowledge, skill and attitude in the desired behavior, but also it will develop a habit to perform, and when there is an habit to perform for the getting the better recognition, the growth, this satisfaction, the internal satisfaction, internal satisfaction, that all will be they will be in align with the goal and core values of the organization. Therefore, employee recognition plays a very important non-monetary reward to motivate the employees. Thank you.